The Awakening. The observation deck of the UNSC Tempest afforded the best view of Saturn's rings, a shimmering band of ice and rock that cut across the blackness of space like a painter's brushstroke. Captain Alara Voss stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her reflection ghostly in the reinforced glass. 12 years in deep space missions had etched fine lines around her eyes, but had done nothing to diminish the intensity of her gaze. "Captain, we're receiving an automated distress signal," Lieutenant Nakamura's voice crackled through the comm system. "Origin point is approximately 300,000 kilometers off our starboard bow." Voss turned from the view. "Source: unknown, Captain. Signal pattern doesn't match anything in our database. Plot an intercept course," she ordered. "And have Director Reed meet me in the command center." The Tempest was technically a research vessel, but its reinforced hull and concealed weapons system spoke to its true purpose, forward reconnaissance in potentially hostile territories. With Earth's colonies expanding deeper into the solar system, encounters with unknown entities had become increasingly common. Most were benign, stellar phenomena, debris fields, or the occasional unmapped asteroid. But Command had been explicit in their briefing: investigate, document, and when necessary, neutralize. Security Director Caden Reed was already waiting when she arrived at the command center. He was a tall man with sharp features and a perpetual scowl, his military buzz cut reinforcing his no-nonsense demeanor. "Another ghost hunt, Captain?" he asked, voice low enough that only she could hear. "Let's hope so," Voss replied. "But protocol is protocol." The command center hummed with activity as officers monitored their stations. The main viewscreen showed the vast emptiness of space, punctuated only by distant stars and the looming presence of Saturn in their wake. "Signal source coming into visual range, Captain," announced Navigation Officer Zhu. The viewscreen adjusted, magnifying a distant object. As the image clarified, a collective gasp spread through the command center. What they saw defied conventional spacecraft design, a twisted, organic-looking structure that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Its surface wasn't metal, but something crystalline that refracted the distant sunlight into prismatic patterns. "Is that alive?" someone whispered. "Xenobiology team to the command center," Voss ordered. "Full containment protocols." She turned to Reed. "Prepare a boarding party. Level 3 hazard gear." Reed's expression hardened. "With respect, Captain, we should maintain distance until we have more information." "Noted, Director. But that signal is specifically designed to be recognized by human vessels." She gestured to the communications officer. "Play it again." The sound that filled the command center wasn't what anyone would consider speech, it was a series of harmonic tones that shifted and overlapped. Yet there was something undeniably intentional about it. "It's repeating segments of our own deep space beacons," explained Communications Officer Delgado. "It's like it's mimicking us." Dr. Verna Ortiz, head of xenobiology, arrived moments later. She was a compact woman with quick movements and quicker eyes that immediately fixed on the viewscreen. "Fascinating," she breathed. "The structure appears to be growing." She was right. Even as they watched, crystalline formations extended from the main body of the object, reaching out into space like searching fingers. "Biological or mechanical?" Voss asked. "Possibly both," Ortiz replied. "Or neither. We're in uncharted territory, Captain." Voss made her decision. "Prepare Shuttle 1 for launch. Dr. Ortiz, you'll accompany Director Reed's security team. I want preliminary analysis, but absolute caution. No unnecessary risks." Reed didn't mask his disapproval but nodded curtly. "Understood, Captain." The boarding party launched 20 minutes later. Voss watched from the command center as the shuttle approached the alien vessel, now appearing even more bizarre at close range. Its surface pulsed with internal light that seemed to react to the shuttle's presence. Approaching docking position, Reed's voice reported through the comm, "No obvious entry points." The structure appears to be responding to our presence. Voss leaned forward. Responding how? It's opening. There's a section that's reconfiguring itself. Ortiz says it's creating an airlock that matches our shuttle specifications. It's intelligent, Dr. Ortiz's excited voice cut in. It's analyzing our technology and adapting. Proceed with caution, Voss ordered. If anything seems off, abort immediately. The next 30 minutes were tense as the boarding party entered the alien structure. Their helmet cameras transmitted disorienting images of crystalline corridors that seemed to shift and change as they moved through them. The interior glowed with the same prismatic light they'd observed from outside. Atmosphere readings show breathable air, Reed reported, surprise evident in his voice. Temperature stable at 22 degrees Celsius. Keep your helmets on, Voss commanded. Captain, you need to see this, Dr. Ortiz's voice trembled slightly. Her camera feed showed a large chamber at the center of the vessel. Suspended in what appeared to be a column of light was a pulsating crystalline formation significantly larger than the others. It's the source of the signal, Delgado confirmed from his station. And it's changing frequency now that we're here, Ortiz added. I think it's trying to communicate. Voss watched as Ortiz approached the formation, scanner in hand. Maintain safe distance, Doctor. These readings are unprecedented, Ortiz breathed. The crystalline structure contains complex carbon chains similar to our own DNA, but organized in ways I've never seen. And there's energy flowing through it, not electrical exactly, more like quantum fluctuations. Reed's camera showed him positioning his security team defensively around the chamber. Dr. Ortiz, I think we should collect a small sample and return to the Tempest. Ortiz nodded, carefully extracting a specialized cutting tool from her kit. I'll need just a tiny fragment. As the tool approached the pulsating crystal, the entire chamber suddenly flared with blinding light. The camera feeds distorted momentarily before stabilizing. What happened? Voss demanded. It reacted, Ortiz replied, voice filled with wonder rather than fear. And look, Captain. Her camera feed showed a small crystalline fragment floating freely from the main formation, as if offering itself. It's giving us what we want, she whispered. Reed's voice was tight with tension. Or it's exactly what it wants us to take. Back on the Tempest, the mood in the high-security lab was divided between excitement and apprehension. The crystalline fragment, now secured in a containment field, continued to pulse with inner light. Preliminary analysis suggests it's not just alive, but potentially sentient, Dr. Ortiz explained, displaying complex data patterns on the lab screens. It's producing organized energy signatures that resemble neural patterns. Director Reed stood by the door, arms crossed. And you're certain the containment field will hold? The energy it's producing doesn't match anything we've encountered before, but the field is adaptive, Ortiz assured him. I've programmed redundancies. Captain Voss studied the fragment. Has it attempted further communication? Not directly, but a sharp ping from one of the monitors interrupted Ortiz. That's odd. There's a fluctuation in the ship's power grid. Voss pressed her calm, bridge, report. Minor power fluctuations, Captain, came the response. Engineering is investigating. Reed's expression darkened. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences in deep space, Voss replied quietly. Over the next 12 hours, the situation evolved rapidly. The crystalline fragment maintained its enigmatic pulsing, while the Tempest experienced increasingly frequent power fluctuations. Engineering reported unusual data patterns in the ship's computer systems. It's like something scanning our databases, Chief Engineer Harlow explained, pointing to code flowing across his screen. Not malicious, just curious. In the mess hall, crew members reported hearing strange harmonic tones in supposedly empty corridors. Medical recorded an unprecedented increase in vivid dreams among personnel, almost all featuring crystalline landscapes and resonant frequencies that lingered upon waking. An emergency meeting was called in the secure conference room. We need to jettison it, Reed insisted, palms slamming the table. Whatever it is, it's affecting our ship and our crew. Dr. Ortiz shook her head vehemently. That would be an unforgivable waste. This could be the first contact with a truly alien intelligence. An intelligence that's infiltrating our systems, Reed countered. Or trying to understand us, Ortiz argued back. There's been no hostile action. Voss raised a hand, silencing them both. Dr. Ortiz, can you establish any kind of meaningful communication with it? I believe so. The energy patterns are becoming more organized, more rhythmic. I think it's learning. And the effects on our crew and systems? Temporary exposure appears harmless. The dream reports actually show consistent patterns. I believe it's attempting to create a shared mental space for communication. Reed scoffed. You want to let an unknown entity into our heads? I want to understand it, Ortiz replied firmly. Voss considered the options. Protocol dictated caution, but her instincts told her this was too important to abandon. Double the containment protocols. I want hourly reports on any ship system anomalies. And Dr. Ortiz, you have 24 hours to establish some form of communication. As they filed out, Reed hung back. Captain, I respect your decision, but I want my concerns on record. Noted, Director, Voss replied. But sometimes the greatest discoveries require calculated risks. Neither of them realized just how high that calculation would climb. At 0347 ship time, alarms blared throughout the Tempest. Captain Voss raced from her quarters to find corridor lights flickering and emergency protocols engaging. Report, she commanded, arriving at the bridge. Containment breach in Lab 3, Lieutenant Nakamura responded, face pale. The crystalline sample, it's gone. Gone where? Unknown. But we have reports of crystalline formations appearing throughout the ship. And Captain, Nakamura swallowed hard. Dr. Ortiz is missing. Security feeds showed the lab's containment field collapsing, the crystalline fragment pulsing intensely before seemingly dissolving into the ship's ventilation system. The last image of Dr. Ortiz showed her reaching toward it, her face illuminated by its brilliant light. Full lockdown, Voss ordered. All personnel to secure stations. Director Reed, meet me at the armory. But as systems throughout the ship began failing, one by one, a realization dawned on Captain Voss: they weren't under attack. They were being transformed. And somewhere in the depths of the Tempest, Dr. Ortiz's voice echoed through the comms, changed yet recognizable. Captain, they're not destroying. They're awakening. They call themselves the Resonance. And they have so much to show us. The Convergence. Emergency lockdown protocols bathed the corridors of the Tempest in pulsing red light. Security personnel moved in tight formation, weapons raised at shadows that seemed to shift and shimmer with crystalline fragments. Captain Voss and Director Reed stood in the Auxiliary Command Center, the main bridge having been compromised when crystalline formations began growing from the navigation controls. We've lost contact with decks 4 through 7, Lieutenant Nakamura reported, his voice strained. Engineering reports the reactor is stable, but they're detecting unusual energy patterns in the coolant systems. Reed checked the charge on his pulse rifle. We should evacuate to the escape pods while we still can. The ship is lost. We're not abandoning the Tempest, Voss stated firmly, studying the ship's schematics on the tactical display. Sections highlighted in red indicated areas of crystalline growth, now covering nearly 30% of the vessel. Not until we understand what we're dealing with. What we're dealing with, Reed growled, is an invasive organism that's consumed our chief xenobiologist and is spreading through our systems like a cancer. Voss's comm unit crackled. Captain. Hear me. Dr. Ortiz's voice, distorted but recognizable. Verna. Where are you? Voss demanded, signaling Nakamura to trace the transmission. Everywhere, nowhere. The doctor's voice faded in and out. They're not what we thought. Not hostile, transformative. Who are they? Voss pressed. The resonance, ancient, travelers between states of being. Static overwhelmed the channel before clearing again. They're trying to establish compatibility. Our technology, our biology. Different frequencies. The transmission cut out as abruptly as it had begun. Nakamura shook his head. Couldn't trace it. The signals seemed to be coming from multiple points simultaneously. It wasn't Ortiz, Reed insisted. Whatever that thing is, it's mimicking her voice to manipulate us. Voss wasn't so certain. The voice had carried Ortiz's characteristic intensity, her scientific curiosity even in extraordinary circumstances. We need more information. I want a secure team to reach the secondary lab. If we can analyze a sample of the new formations. A violent shudder ran through the ship, throwing them against the bulkheads. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Hull breach on deck 9. Nakamura called out. Automatic seals engaged. Casualties? Voss asked, steadying herself. None reported. The section was already evacuated. Nakamura paused, his expression puzzled. Captain, sensors indicate the breach has sealed itself. Security footage confirmed it. Crystalline structures had grown across the rupture, creating a seamless patch stronger than the original hull material. It's protecting the ship, Voss murmured. Or protecting itself, Reed countered. We're just the host. Another transmission broke through, clearer this time. Captain Voss must understand, symbiosis, not parasitism. Ortiz's voice had an otherworldly quality now, as if multiple voices were layered beneath her own. The resonance exists. Across dimensions, seeking partnership with compatible life forms. And what happened to the crew of their ship? Reed demanded. A pause. They were incompatible. Physical structure too rigid, minds too linear. And humans? Voss asked. Potential, adaptable, imaginative. The voice grew stronger. Come to the central chamber, what was once the bridge. See what we are becoming. The transmission ended, leaving the command team in tense silence. It's a trap, Reed stated flatly. Maybe, Voss acknowledged. But it's also our only lead. She turned to him. I'm going. You maintain command here. Reed's jaw tightened. Regulations state that in potential first contact situations, the senior officer should not expose themselves to unknown risks. Noted, Director, Voss replied, checking her sidearm. But we're well beyond regulations now. With a small security detail, Captain Voss made her way through the transformed corridors of her ship. The crystalline growths were more extensive than the reports had indicated, covering entire sections in structures that seemed both organic and geometric. More disturbing was the way they reacted to their presence, shifting, opening pathways, almost guiding them toward the bridge. They're watching us, whispered Ensign Carver, one of the security officers. Stay focused, Voss ordered, though she felt it too, a sensation of being observed not by cameras or sensors, but by the very structure of the ship itself. As they approached the bridge, the crystalline formations grew more complex, more beautiful. They pulsed with internal light that synchronized with their footsteps. The door to the bridge, once standard reinforced steel, had been transformed into an intricate crystalline archway that seemed to invite entry. Hold position here, Voss instructed her team. If I'm not out in 15 minutes, or if you lose contact with me, retreat to the auxiliary command and prepare evacuation procedures. Before they could protest, she stepped through the archway. The bridge was unrecognizable. What had once been the nerve center of a military vessel now resembled the interior of some vast geode. Crystalline structures curved gracefully from floor to ceiling, pulsing with harmonious light that shifted between colors in a way that seemed deliberate, communicative. At the center, where the captain's chair once stood, was a formation larger than the others, vaguely humanoid in shape. "Dr. Ortiz?" Voss called out. The formation shifted, facets realigning until it resembled a crystalline approximation of the xenobiologist. "Part of me." "Still Verna Ortiz," it responded, voice emanating not from the figure but from the entire chamber. "Part of me now resonant. We are becoming something new. What do you want from us?" "From my ship?" "Not conquest, convergence." The crystalline form rippled. "The resonants have traveled for millennia, seeking compatible minds. Most species, too rigid, too limited in perception. Humans, different. Your minds embrace paradox, uncertainty. You dream. You're affecting my crew," Voss stated. "Infiltrating our systems. Necessary steps, toward harmony. The crystalline fragment you brought aboard, a seed. Growing connections between your technology, your biology, and resonant consciousness." Voss maintained her composure despite the extraordinary situation. "You should have asked permission before seeding my ship." A harmonic tone, almost like laughter, resonated through the chamber. "Communication, difficult across such different states of being. We learn your methods as we grow. Understand your boundaries." "And Dr. Ortiz? Did she give permission?" The crystalline form shimmered. "She offered herself, as bridge between our kinds. Her consciousness remains, expanded now, not diminished." As if on cue, the crystalline structure shifted again, and Voss found herself facing a more perfect recreation of Ortiz, details refined down to the small scar on her left eyebrow. "Captain," the figure spoke, now unmistakably in Ortiz's voice. "I know how this looks, but I'm still me. Just more. I can perceive things now that I never imagined possible." "Prove it," Voss challenged. "Tell me something only Verna would know." The figure smiled, the expression oddly natural despite its crystalline composition. 2 years ago, after the Ganymede incident, you found me in the observation deck. I was crying because I thought we'd failed the colonists. You told me that science isn't about never failing, it's about learning from each failure until we succeed." Voss felt a chill. That private moment had never been reported, never entered into any log. "What are they offering us, Verna?" she asked quietly. "Knowledge. Partnership. Evolution." Ortiz's crystalline form gestured, and the entire chamber transformed into a three-dimensional star map that Voss recognized as their sector of the galaxy. But also warning. Points of light throughout the map began to dim, one by one. "The resonance fled something," Ortiz continued. "An ancient force that consumes consciousness, reduces complexity to simplicity, order to entropy. It's been moving through this sector for millennia, and it's approaching human space. You expect me to believe this? That you've merged with an alien consciousness to warn us about some cosmic threat? I expect you to verify everything I'm telling you," Ortiz replied. "The resonants have provided coordinates where evidence of this force can be found, dead systems, extinct civilizations. But time is limited." Voss's comm unit buzzed. "Captain, this is Reed. Fleet Command is demanding updates. They're dispatching destroyers to our position with orders to quarantine or neutralize if necessary. ETA 14 hours. The crystalline chamber seemed to dim slightly. "They fear what they don't understand," Ortiz said quietly. "Can you blame them?" Voss countered. "You've hijacked my ship." "Merged with it," Ortiz corrected. "And the process can be reversed if necessary. But there's another option." The crystalline form extended a hand toward Voss. "Direct interface. Experience what I've experienced. See the truth for yourself." "You want me to, what? Become like you?" "Temporarily. Your consciousness linked to the resonant network. You'll remain physically unchanged." Voss studied the offered hand, weighing impossible choices. Fleet destroyers would show no mercy to what they perceived as an alien infestation. But surrendering her own mind to an unknown entity went against every protocol, every instinct ingrained by years of command. If I refuse, then we retreat, Ortiz answered simply. The resonance will withdraw from the Tempest, taking what they've learned. I'll go with them. And humanity will face what's coming, unaware and unprepared. In the Auxiliary Command Center, Director Reed paced like a caged predator. It's been 20 minutes with no word from the captain. We need to implement evacuation protocols. Lieutenant Nakamura looked up from his station. Sir, I'm detecting major power fluctuations throughout the ship. The crystalline formations are changing. Weapons free, Reed ordered. We move to the bridge in 3 minutes. Before they could mobilize, every display in the command center activated simultaneously, showing Captain Voss standing in the transformed bridge. But something was different, her eyes reflected the same prismatic light as the crystals surrounding her. This is Captain Alara Voss, she announced, her voice carrying the same layered quality that Ortiz's had. I have made direct contact with the entity we now know as the Resonance. They are not hostile, but messengers and potential allies. Captain. Reed leaned toward the nearest display. Are you still in command of your faculties? A slight smile crossed Voss's face. More than ever, Director. I've seen what they've seen, civilizations rising and falling across millennia, knowledge that could advance humanity by centuries. And I've seen the threat they're fleeing. The connection is temporary, she continued. But in this state, I can show you directly. The displays shifted, showing images that seemed impossible, vast cosmic structures collapsing into nothingness, stars extinguished not by natural means but systematically, as if harvested. The footage, if it could be called that, carried an emotional weight that left the observers shaken. This force has consumed 12 known civilizations in this sector alone, Voss explained. The Resonance call it the Void Chorus, a collective consciousness that believes complexity and diversity are inefficient. It reduces all it encounters to base components. And it's coming here? Nakamura asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yes. But the Resonance offer an alternative to extinction. A symbiotic relationship that would allow both species to evolve, to face the threat together. Reed's expression remained skeptical. And what would this symbiotic relationship entail? Voluntary interface for those who choose it. Enhanced ships incorporating resonant technology. A new form of communication that transcends current limitations. Voss's gaze seemed to focus directly on Reed. Not assimilation, Director. Cooperation. The displays shifted again, showing the crystalline formations throughout the ship beginning to recede, withdrawing into contained structures that resembled technological components rather than organic growth. As a demonstration of good faith, they're restoring the Tempest to its original state, with some improvements. Dr. Ortiz and I will maintain our connection as liaisons. Voss straightened, the commander even in this altered state. Fleet destroyers are approaching. We have 14 hours to prepare our case and prevent them from taking hostile action. Reed studied the displays showing the ship's systems returning to normal. You're asking us to trust entities that invaded our ship without permission. I'm asking you to trust your captain, Voss countered. And to consider that in the vastness of space, we may need allies more than we need pride. Throughout the Tempest, crew members watched as the crystalline structures receded from corridors and systems, leaving behind enhanced components that integrated seamlessly with the ship's technology. Engineering reported reactor efficiency increased by 30%. Medical discovered new regenerative capabilities in their equipment. In her quarters, Captain Voss sat alone, eyes closed as she processed the vast influx of knowledge the temporary merging had provided. The connection had been pulled back to manageable levels, but she could still feel the resonance at the edges of her consciousness, ancient memories not her own, perspectives that spanned dimensions beyond human perception. A chime announced Reed's arrival. When she opened the door, he studied her face carefully. Your eyes are back to normal, he noted. Are you yourself? I'm still Alara Voss, she confirmed. Just with a broader perspective. Reed handed her a data pad. Fleet Command remains skeptical, but they've agreed to a preliminary assessment before taking action. They're sending a scientific team with the destroyers. That's a start. Voss set the pad aside. And you, Director? What's your assessment? Reed considered the question carefully. I still have serious reservations. But I've served with you long enough to trust your judgment, even when I disagree with it. He paused. And if there really is something coming for us, something that's already destroyed advanced civilizations, then we need every advantage we can get, Voss finished for him. A soft harmonic tone emanated from a small crystalline formation on her desk, a communication node that linked her to Ortiz and, through her, to the broader resonant consciousness. They're ready to begin detailed briefings on the Void Chorus, Voss said. Including defensive strategies that have proven effective in other encounters. Reed nodded grimly. I'll assemble the senior staff. As he turned to leave, Voss called after him. Director. Thank you for not mutinying when you had the chance. A rare smile crossed Reed's face. The day's not over yet, Captain. In the transformed bridge, now a harmonious blend of human technology and crystalline enhancements, Dr. Ortiz, or the entity that had once been solely Dr. Ortiz, prepared the knowledge transfer that might determine humanity's survival. The star map hovered before her, countless worlds illuminated in delicate light, some already darkened by the approaching threat. But new points were illuminating, potential allies, awakened resonant seeds on other worlds, a network forming across the galaxy. And at its center, the small blue dot of Earth, now connected to something greater than itself. The convergence had begun. And with it, perhaps, a chance against the encroaching void.